Hello and welcome to the IrisBG webinar on September the 6th, 2018 with Havard from IrisBG and Greg Payton from the world famous the Dawes Arboretum.
Hello.
Yeah, hello. We have a few questions prepared for some of our viewers, and we're going to go through them. There's no particular topics today. We'll talk a bit about the in addition to the questions, we're also going to talk a bit about the new Iris Handheld that will be released later this month. So, without any further ado, we'll just start with the questions that we have received. So, one question was, how do you link an image to a taxa screen? So, yes. So here I'm just running a trial version, but that's fine. I've got a full screen mode here. So for those of you who are not familiar with Iris, you can do here full screen. Then you sort of let Iris take up the full real estate of your computer. That makes it a bit easier to handle. Now, before I answer the question, how do you add an image to the taxa? I would first like to say that images can be recorded in taxa. Yes, absolutely. This here, now I'm on the taxa screen. No, I'm not. I'm on the accession screen. But they can also be added on the taxa screen. So I'm getting there now. And there is an image tab here on the taxa screen. So what we recommend is that when you take a picture of a plant or in your garden, it makes sense to then add it to the accession you took the picture of. And even more specifically, you can also assign the plant you took a picture of. So let me show you how to do that first, and then we can talk about the more practical thing. So if I have bring up an accession here, let's say we will I'm just going to search for anything. So I'm just doing a random thing here now. Let's say we'll just do this Easter here. So if I wanted to add a picture to this, there are several methods. You can actually just drag and drop. So I could just drag a picture. Now I'm coming here from my desktop and just dropping it in here. So that's number one option. Number two option is to click on the green plus button, and then you will bring up a file explorer. And then you will just, let's see where we go here. I'm just going to bring up a file folder here like this. And then we have the pictures. And then I can take another one and I just say, OK. And then I've added a second picture. The third option is the blue button, which gives you the option to add a picture from a website. And this is if you have your own images. I would recommend focus on your own images here for the plant collection, and then you will typically then have some sort of system to manage your pictures externally. And then if those pictures have the same URL, so they're stable, then it makes sense to just add a link to that image. I'm not going to do that here now. I think I can't sort of bring up a good example. So, but you get the point. So you basically have the web image. There's a variation on this, and that is if you're using some sort of a digital asset management system or an image library system that have, let's say there's something called Asset Bank, and there's lots of other options. They will typically have all their images on the same URL all the time, the same path. So it could be something like HTTPS, something like my great image library.com / and then your pictures would be like images something or whatever, and then each picture might have like an accession number like this. So what you can do then is to typically just set it up so you only type in the image number instead of the full path every time. So you put the image library path in the settings. If you want to know more about that, you can get in touch. I'm not going to go into details to do that. We can do that next webinar if necessary. But then the story would be that you would type in your sort of image accession number, if you can call it that, and then the image will just slide into your image library. So I'm going to let's see. Yeah. So that's how this works. That's sort of like the 3/4 options on how to add images. And then when you add them, you will see here that this is not an aster, but I hope you can forgive me for that. You can see that it is 3 megapixel in size. That's because the system I've set up will automatically downscale it to 3 images. If you want to use a different size, you have to either override it before you add the image. So you could say, I want this to be the original, or I want to be a very small one. Or you can also go into options here and change the settings so that you always say, I want pictures to always be 1, 2, 3, or whatever you find necessary. So 3 megapixel is what we recommend. That sort of gives you quite a lot of detail and doesn't take up too much space. But if you want to conserve space, you can often take it down to 1 megapixel without losing much. If you see on this picture now, if I double click on that, just to show you that I get a reasonable amount of detail even with 3 megapixel. Okay, and then in addition to adding them, there is something called ranking, which is how they are. If you have Garden Explorer, it will decide how the pictures are listed on the website. Rank number 1 is the sort of best image that comes first, and then you can just carry on. You can now guess that rank number 2 is coming afterwards. And if I then, oops, I know I'm scrolling a bit here. If I click on this one and say this is number 10, so 9 and above or 10 and above will not be published online at all. So, and the final thing to say about this is...
And just to add to that, a good reason for that is oftentimes we store pictures of like why a plant died. You know, we can have like or even a plant that was wounded or maybe suffered winter burn or something like that, or some disease or insect infection. We can photograph it, add it to the record to store, but then not want to publish it online. So rank it as a 10, just to say this is a record of that plant, but it's not one we're advertising it to see as.
Yeah. You can try to comment here. This is the virus in full bloom.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Okay, so the other thing here to add is you can also, now this will be associated with this accession, but if you go here, you can associate it with this specific plant if there are several plants related to the accession. So I can just do that, and then questions about origin and provider has also come up, and that says, you know, this will give you a drop-down that is self-populated. So that's a bit of a weird data recording to this particular database. So, but here you can then type in a new person, Peter, photographer, for example. And then you will see that that will automatically be added to that list. Okay, so if I save this now, we have then 3 images. And what's interesting now is that because it's associated with this accession and this taxon, the pictures will also then be found on the taxon page. And I'll show you how that works. If I go to the taxon page, I'm just going to, I can, as many of you know, I can just go into the taxon page here. Let's do that. I'll just go via the accession screen. And then you see there are 4 images. And if you get this problem, that's sometimes if the screen is a bit small, you will only see this. You just need to resize the screen a bit so you get a bit more space to see all the things. And then here we have another picture, which is from another exhibition. So when this is published online, this particular species, Acer astrosibiricus, what's interesting? Oh yeah, it was. I thought it was something else. This will then be published online with 4 images, and then even if you had only 1 image of one accession and 3 of the other. So that's how it works. So that's why we recommend, if you take pictures of plants in the garden, take and associate the pictures with the accession and not the taxon. That makes it, that then your collection is better documented, I would like to claim. Yeah. Greg, any comments?
Well, Elaine's question is adding something like botany photo of the day. If you just want to add pictures of the plant for your records, maybe for ID purposes, or to have ready for maybe to save it as an image for a presentation or something like that, you could do that as well in there. It just wouldn't be associated, but you would have to do it from the taxon screen like you're doing now,
yep.
And then it wouldn't associate it with an accession. But keep in mind how many photos you want of each plant. If you have 5 plants on the ground and you want a photo of each one, you're going to start with 5 images, and then if you have 3 accessions of that, you're going to have 3 times 5 images, so you'll already be at 15 images. And then if you start adding web images, you can easily get overloaded in the number of photos that you might want.
Yeah. I think the general rule online is that a visit. I mean, how many pictures can you produce that are useful for the visitor? I think it's 3, 4, 5 max. I think personally, but
right.
You want the flower maybe, and maybe the size, and then I don't know, winter, whatever. Greg, what do you think?
Well, yeah, fall color, flower, form, those sorts of things to identify the plant and give you a sense of its use in the landscape, maybe, are all useful. But then if you don't have the Garden Explorer site, it really doesn't matter, I suppose, how many photos you add. But if you do upgrade to that in the future, you're going to have to start making some of these 10s that you don't want to publish because they're just going to be excessive.
Yeah. I think it makes sense anyway, because why do you take pictures? Well, it is to show to help for identification, I suppose, and to document the health.
Exactly.
Maybe sometimes.
She just commented that we have a gazillion, and that's the exact number, photos of Dawn Redwood on our site. But we have probably the world's largest collection of wild origin Dawn Redwoods outside of China, and a plantation we have with over 300 trees and plus many cultivars on the ground. So just to the species Dawn Redwood, I've added just random photos of the variety of trees of this wild origin plantation, and they are a tad excessive, I'll agree, but part of the reason for that is, if you want to, you have it uploaded there. See that cluster on the map at the very top left of our grounds? Yeah, that's our plantation there. So you can see we have quite a few trees in that planting, and many of those have different forms and habits and colors, and I was just trying to capture the breadth of the display. So yeah, there's a 25, which I guess classifies as a gazillion. But those are some ones in our garden. That's the plantation. So there's a bronze foliage, there's a nice habit, there's a weird habit. So just see, and all those trees were planted on the same day. That little ball.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the large ones behind it were all planted on the same day in 1993. So, and then just some fall color. So winter. So yeah, some of those could be some of those do need to be made 10s. Thanks for pointing that out. I need to hide that one.
I was thinking.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go down here now and say send email.
Yeah,
to
exactly. So what? So a note to self. Where's my notepad?
No, I'm sending it to you.
Good.
Check. Check the images. Okay.
Yeah.
What we should have had here is actually when you click that, we get a link to the actual. But I'll send the link to Greg here, so you can then check the page. Okay, there we go. Okay, so the other thing with pictures related here, why do you put them on the? Another example of putting it on the taxa is, of course, if you have these sort of botanical drawings, those kind of things that identify any particular plant in your collection, as Greg said.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think.
So to expand on that thought, perhaps you had an artist come in and do some illustrations of plants for the Arboretum, and maybe they were displayed somewhere or part of a loan or something like that. You can have photographs of those if you wish to display those as well. But then again, what value is that having those on the website? Who knows? But then you could use those images for other purposes like tours and things like that. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Then there was a question here. Permission from, say, botany photo of the day, blah, blah, blah. Where do you put that? Yeah. Okay. Well, you probably say, provider, and you might put a copyright or something here, or by permission of. You might put it here, I suppose. What do you think? It's not. I think it's not yet. Oops, sorry. It's not yet online. But I think, or is it now shown on Garden Explorer? I can't remember, Greg. Do you, the picture?
The provider? No, I don't think so.
I think it was on. Yep.
Something else I wouldn't mind having is a link to what accession that photo is linked to at some point.
Yeah. Could be a hint maybe that comes up when you and I click on it here. The final thing I would like to say about these pictures, if you use a web link instead of just adding it into Iris, there's one bonus if you add it from a website, and that is that you will then have an access to a high resolution image. So we can pull them, if you have very high resolution images, we can pull those up by when you click on this zoom button, like I do here. That will then access, if you have a very a 20 megapixel, 30 megapixel, that will be then available through the Garden Explorer website.
Mm-hmm. If I could make a request, there is somebody with their microphone on and a very loud background. If you can identify yourself as that person, if you could mute your microphone.
Well, I can mute them for you, so I'll do that now.
Okay. If you know which one it was.
Yeah. There's not that many, so I can.
Okay.
Okay. Great.
It was just getting somewhat distracting.
Yeah. Sorry, I should have thought about that straight away. And let's move on to the next question, unless there was anything else about pictures. No. No. Okay, good. Great. So, how do you add links to the taxon? I think that that's another question. Yeah. I'll go away. That's not fine. I didn't make anything. Yeah, this is just a test. So if I go to the taxa screen, let's do that. We can work on this Aster Sibirius. It was a bit more complicated than that. Wasn't it Aster Sibirius?
Go up. You're at Astilbe.
There we go.
Right there. Yeah.
Sorry. Here's the one we worked on, and web references you add here. One top tip is, of course, to look at how you have set up web search and make sure you have your favorite kind of web pages here. And then if I want to have a link to, let's say we have a policy of trying to have, if there's a good link from Wikipedia, we show that on we put that in here. But I can then check to see if it's in Wikipedia. And lo and behold.
With
we also
the new name, yeah.
So we got two things at the same time for the that's quite handy. So what I can do here now is that Iris will remember the last web search, so I can just add that automatically. So that's it. Great. and since Wikipedia told us that it might be a new name, I was going to check again on something like plant list or catalog of life, or just catalog of life, see if we get that confirmed. Yeah, it's a synonym of
Euerbia.
Euerbia. Shall we just, for the fun of it, fix this? Just for we'll do that. So we can do something. Change the nomenclature here. That's cool. We'll do that at the same time. So go to names, and then we'll just add the new name, which was which I've already forgotten, but I can just put that in.
I think it's EUY.
I'll put it in here just to so I don't have to.
EURY, yeah.
Oops. So EU. Hello. What was it? Yeah, EURY. I don't have the genus.
All right, that's what I said. You might have to add the genus. Yeah.
Wow. Oh, that's a great. This is a great little thing. Okay, so we need to. Euribia. Okay, cool. So then this is, turns out I'm going to do a spin-off here now, but that's fine. So this is a classic, and this is a classic thing that I would like to. I'm just going to bring that browser away.
Yes, Elaine, I do often copy and paste the genus in myself, so I make sure that I spell it right.
Yeah. I have to. I don't. It's not a question of. It's a tip. If I don't, it's sort of. But anyway, this is a classic thing. So I wanted to share that with you guys. That I selected Europsis, and one thing that novices can often do is that they now just go straight in here and change this to the Eurobia, which is no. If I did that now, it's sort of, then I will change all the other taxa that earlier was Europs, and that of course is not what you want at all. So we want to create a new genus. Very important that you keep an eye on that and clear the screen in these cases. He thinks I've made changes, which I have not. Well, they have. And then I use my clipboard to paste in the new name. And I say that it's a rank of genus. And then I can check with IPNI to see whether IPNI can help me to fill out the rest. And it can. And there's another question related to this, which I will address a bit later. There are multiple authors here. So now we're in a pickle. Which one should we pick? That's a good.
We need to go back to your catalog of life reference and see which one it is.
Exactly. So I'm here now, and then we can see that the genus is Eurobia. So if I click on this link, we should hopefully get some more. Where is it? It's a bit slow today. Oh yeah. So we don't. Do we get? We don't get the actual.
I guess that site's not the best.
No.
I would probably use something.
We can see here if Eurobia comes with.
Depending, since it's Siberic, it might be in like Flora, China, or something like that.
Yeah. So what we're trying to figure out here is what is the accepted author of the actual genus. So we need to get the resource for that. I thought I would see the sort of, usually Wikipedia has a link to the genus page here. Where is that? No, I just clicked on this. That was maybe not a good idea, but.
I'll see. It's Linnaeus Neeson, who's the one that.
That's the species itself. But
yeah.
Okay, we're a bit stymied here. Why? But spit out. Let's do catalog of life. No, I know the plant list. They often tell a bit on don't they, on the actual.
Yeah, sometimes you go to the genus on that one.
I just do
out in the weeds. Yeah, exactly.
It doesn't matter which one I do, I suppose. I could do this one. And then if I click there, Oh, that doesn't show an author either.
No, honestly, what I use frequently is the you can go to if you know which author it is for the, well, that's it too. This is part of your policy about how you check names, but I will use something like the GRIN taxonomy from the USDA. Different sources like that will identify the genus and the author and that sort of thing. But to Elaine's point, when you click back on the LSID, the IPNI record, it's probably, see, we have CAS and CAS. There's one gray down at the end. So that's probably not it. And if you look at the numbers, we have 1.5 for that record 1 for the version number, 1.1. Chances are it's probably, that's the highest number. I think 1.5 with that author. That's most likely the one I would choose, as long as I saw the author of, and I'm not sure what that's an abbreviation for, but with that author combination, if I saw that listed for the genus, I would pick the one with the highest number that had the publication reference listed.
Yeah. Okay, we'll stick to that. And then Siberica.
ICA.
And now we can do a spell check with IPSNI here as well. Before we do that, just go back to our page, because here we get the same question again. What are the authors? And it's Neeson and Linnaeus.
Right, L. Neeson.
And here we got the right one. So then we follow Mr. Payton's advice of the latest version.
As long as the same publication and the same year. All that means is they have just a more recent reference to it. But
yeah. Okay. So now we got that in. And this is, of course, now supposed to be the accepted name. And the other one should now be a synonym. And then we click Save. And now we're in business. So that was the full Monty in terms of dealing with pictures that you sort of get. Yeah.
And now this is even more off in the weeds, but just to humor me, if you click on Aster Sibiricus again, you see the author is Linnaeus, right? Yeah. And the new name you added had him as the original author, so that means that is a homotypic name. So that's the same plant that has been named by a later author from the original specimen. So you can either set that as that, although sometimes I just pick up the blue dot next to Aster Sibiricus and drop it under the green dot. Just drag and drop. There you go. And then it links it, showing that is a later name of that original name, based on the same type specimen.
Very.
And then if you click on sub integrimus, I can't say that one. That's a totally different author. So that's probably not based on the same specimen. That was described by somebody else at some different time. So that one can stay just a standard synonym or a heterotypic if it's based on a different type specimen. Well, if you break it down, the word homotypic means the same type. So it's from the same type specimen. And heterotypic would be from a different type specimen. So an author goes out, collects a specimen, names it as the type specimen. And in the first case here, that was L. Linnaeus, which I have a hard time saying. And then this other person came out later, collected it, named it as a different type specimen, and gave it a new name. And at some point they were joined together as the same species because they were found it's the same plant. So it just has an extra name by some other extraneous author. That's the heterotypic.
Fabulous.
I'm not even a botanist. I just play one on TV.
Oh, that's great. Okay, then this is how you add images. You get sidetracked.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. When you start working on names for some reason, you have to finish up something that wasn't completed, and you end up going off on all different directions. And what's nice about IrisBG is all the tools right at your fingertips, and you can generally find out all you need, and you get it all put together in one-stop shopping. Yeah,
exactly. So what I'm going to do is, just bring one link to, when it comes to that whole story about the web links that we had here, that constantly comes up as people asking about these links.
Yeah, and I've added many of my own custom links. Like I use Flora of North America, Flora of China frequently. I even sort of cheat, and I talked about the Grin Taxonomy website. Now it doesn't allow you to send the name to the website to pull up the name directly, but what I can do is add it in there and just load the main search page. And then I can just paste in the name, search for it. But when I go to add it back to the link to save, I have to copy the address out of the browser window and paste it into the link that I'm saving. So it's just a little bit more convoluted, but then I can save the link because it's based on a number and not the plant name.
Yeah, because there's a thread on our forum, irisbg.com/support, where you have a number of suggestions that you could add to your list of. It tells a bit of how you can do it, but also a number of suggestions that you can copy. Mm-hmm. So have a look at that. There's even one that I liked that was from Reinhardt, where you actually have a web link that will search for things on your own hard disk. So that's a bit fun. Okay. So yeah. And if you have problems, if you found a website that's not listed on that, on our suggestions, and get in touch and we'll help you to see if the way you could see that you can actually add in a web link is that the website offers what is called a query string at the back. So if I go to something like, if I go back to Catalog of Life here, you will see that if I do a new search here, click search on names and do Quercus Rober and click search, what you will see that they actually add the search in the whole query string here. And that's an indicator that there's high chance that we can actually use that same thing then to link with Iris web search.
Right. And just in that example, that was saying fossil equals no, basically. You could take off that bit after Rober and not even search on that, and likely it would still come up with the results you have. So you need the full string oftentimes.
Catalog of Life includes lots of other things, and then in addition to plants. So but there's luckily no plants or animals called Quercus Rober, so that should be fine.
Right.
Okay. So let's see. We've already covered the topic about IPNI, and that was another question. That was what to decide. So to repeat that question, probably, or the conclusion there. When you add a new taxon, it's a good idea to do a web search before you sort of check with IPNI, so that you can get the information about what is considered the accepted name and the author for that name, so that you can then use that to decide what to pick from IPNI if there are several authors.
And that's exactly what I do. Is I will find the reference either in a book or online that I want to use for that name, and see what it uses for the author and publication if it lists it. And then find the IPNI or IPNI link that follows that same pattern.
Yep. Okay, so I don't think we've had any other questions sent in, but there might be somebody on the chat here. I don't know. Have you seen any?
Elaine had said something earlier about how her name change is tracked.
Oh, there's no logging of name changes in the taxonomy. The only thing you can say is that when I've now changed the name here, if I go back to my accession, you will see that I have to refresh this. I'm just going to. So if I bring it up again now, you will see that it's now listed with the new name, the new accepted name, and the determination history or identification history has not changed because nobody has gone to look at this plant to decide whether it's something else. But it was identified as Eurobia sibirica originally. No, it wasn't. This is just a scroll thing, I think. Well, no, yeah, it is. Yeah, exactly.
That must be how it was received.
Yeah, that was how it was received, and now it's the name. The correct name is here. So actually, I would normally expect to see the identified as name coming up here. To be honest, I'm not sure why that doesn't happen.
Well, it could just be based on your trial. It might not have been fully put in accurately when it was merged.
Yeah. So anyway, so if you see that the name in identified as is different from the name that is the accepted name, that there are two reasons for that: that somebody changed the nomenclature later, or that you actually also decided to identify the plant with the name that it had. You can also, when you accession records, you can select the synonym as the name that you identified it as, or what the nursery used on their label when you got it, for example. So that's yeah.
And something else to keep in mind, that box down at the bottom that you were just referencing under the history, that right there, that is basically free text. That's not linked to any record. So if you received a plant name abbreviated or totally spelled wacky wrong, and there was some reason that you wanted to save that reference, sometimes it might just be like a code number or a reference to a person's name, but you can just type that in that box and it will save it.
Yeah, so let's do an example of that. So if I got an oak tree coming in here, let's say we got a Borealis,
which is actually Quercus rubra.
Rubra, and then I'm just going to quickly just give it provenance, and then but the supplier had not only called it Borealis, they misspelled it, and we want to keep track of that. Then I can go down here and be Borealians, for example.
Yeah.
And then comment.
And especially if you're having to guess what they meant based on what the plant was labeled as. Yeah. That's a way you can reference back and say, well, this was our best guess based on the way the plant was received.
Yeah. So this will only accept those names that are, you have decided. Some people there have been some discussions in the past that you should have the option in the names here to record sort of what do you call it, typographical variants or whatever, misspellings basically. As a you could do that if you want to, but I'm not sure I would agree with that exercise. Typographical variant, what do you know?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I tend to just add synonyms that are most likely to be found. I don't even think I have Borealis on Rubra just because it's such it's a 19th century name. It's not been used frequently probably in the last 100 years.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's the best we can do here on those questions. Was there anything else from Elaine or anybody else? I don't think so. Yeah, Greg?
No.
No, okay. What we can then do...
She was also asking about setting up authorizations for users and role types. And what was it? Something about how to duplicate role types or something like that, quickly. So I'm assuming if you have like a role as like a botanist or something, and you want to create a new role called, say that gardener wasn't there, and you wanted to make a gardener role, but base it on botanist. Is there any quick way that you could just make the same roles, but then edit it quickly to take off certain things?
No, there isn't, unfortunately. No.
Yeah.
The one thing you can do, which is a variant of that, it's not like copying, but let's say you have a team of 4 botanists, and one of them is going to have a bit more access. And what you can do is, let's say if I create a new one called Super Botanist.
Da, da, da. It has a big B on the shirt.
And then I could say, okay, this guy or woman, lady, is going to be, in addition to what the botanist could do, is supposed to be in the accession screen. We're going to allow it to give admin privileges that will allow that person to carry out, update multiple records, for example. And the same in the taxa screen. Taxon. So what I've done now, I've added those 2 things here. I'm just going to say with botanist with a bit extra access, just to sort of say something sensible here. So, and the point here now is that when you grant access, let's say we're going to put that in, first put in the personnel. I'm going to give him sub. Yeah.
Barney Botanist.
Yeah. Bab. Okay, here we go. So we got a new staff here. Started yesterday. He's really clever. And then we want to give him a bit extra access. So we go into user accounts. And then I go and say, okay, Barney, botanists. No, not Bobby, but Barney. Give him the password, change me, and then I click this sub item to give him access. So what I'll do now is to the garden, I'm going to say that he's a botanist and super botanist. So then we are actually merging those 2 together when you granted access, and this is the way you can create, layered access if you want to sort of tweak the access without having to copy everything in. So, okay.
Yep. And then you could also give him rights to the plant herbarium and different roles there as well. So.
Yeah, if you have multiple sites, then
you have separate collections. Yeah, right. Different sites. So
we'll do here to herbarium, and then say here he will just be a viewer. Okay. So that's sort of a workaround in terms of having to sit and tinker with these roles in great variations. You can link them together to a certain extent.
Yeah. So I guess if you could classify your roles basically as like different tasks that people would do, and then for different individuals, you can layer them on top of each other. I want them to be able to edit this and this. You can then build them on top of each other like that.
Yeah, but it can be a bit wary there because it could quickly become quite cumbersome if every time you have if you have like 50 people working and you have to grant everybody 7 roles before they can do anything. So that's
right.
Okay. Let's go over to the next topic because we only have a few more minutes here. There was one question that I'll keep that discussion between Elena May. She got some error messages, and I think they might be related to when you're dealing with role types. And if you carry on working down here, it can be a bit unclear of what you have granted. But if you have multiple lines, if I say accession twice in that list, that you want to have view and update, I think that will, that's not popular. Let's put it that way. You get an error message. Okay.
Yeah, the delete role, Elaine, is the highest ranked one. It means you can view, you can update, but admin actually means do it all. So save that for administrators.
Yeah, well, so there are some screens where admin becomes applicable. as I mentioned in the accession screen, you need admin privileges to be able to use the update multiple, for example, which is a bit of a thing you need to do with care. I'll explain to some of the viewers here what that means. If I go to the accession screen, and then I'm just going to search for a few accessions here. And when I select more than one, you will see that this button up here becomes available, update multiple accessions. And if I click on that, I can now sort of make changes to all those accessions in one operation. And you may not want this feature to be available to everybody, but if you want to, then they need to have admin access to that screen.
Right. It doesn't change items. That's what item management would do. But like say that you realized all the plants you got from a supplier you had called Bob's Nursery wasn't actually Bob's Nursery. It was actually Bill's Nursery. You could select all the ones that you accessioned that year from Bob's Nursery and then change them all to a Bill's Nursery or vice versa in one step.
Yeah. Okay. Final thing we could talk about, if there is any, there was the Iris handheld will ship later this month. We have it on, we're testing, we have a trial at Dawes Arboretum now, and we'll roll out a few more gardens next week, hopefully. And then when the software when we're happy with the performance, etc., we'll make it available for everybody else.
Yes. I'm volunteering to guinea pig myself, so we're not really relying on it yet, but we're having fun testing it. So.
Yeah, that's really great. So what I'm doing here now is this is the newest version, has changed a bit. For those of you who haven't seen it before, I'll spend a few minutes showing you. So after you've logged in, you can see here you can search for the collection, and then you can upload your changes back to the app service, or you can download a fresh data set. These two down here will be color-coded if you have changes that you haven't sent up. And this can also show a little bit of a symbol if there's a new data set you could download. So the way that works is that on the desktop, you use the app manager. I don't have that installed on this one, I can show you, but you basically use that to prepare data sets that you put onto the cloud service for the people who have a handheld, and then you use that to synchronize the data back into the Iris inbox as well. And when you come in here, you click Search Collection. I'm using a mouse, I can use mouse. And here you could then search for all kinds of things. If I click on More here, I can also search on location reference, on tasks, family genus, etc. If I go under location here and start typing for Japanese garden, it will come with auto suggestions as I type. So here we go, Japanese garden. Click search. You may also see down here, there's a barcode symbol. So if you have barcodes in your garden, you can use any phone with a camera to scan, or you could even go one step further and go for one of those specially dedicated barcode scanning devices from Zebra. What I'll do is I'll bring up that page meanwhile, so quickly. I'll take that away. We'll finish this first. If I click search, I will then get a list of all those plants in the Japanese garden. And then I can either just click on the one I want to work with, or I can also click here to see all the plants in that area on the map. So I maybe, and then I can zoom in here and then use, I'm the OpenStreetMap. I want to use, oh, I didn't download your map, Greg. Oh, yeah, that's a shame.
Oh, dear.
Well. Anyway, it's not a big deal just now, but you can have your own maps here as well. This will be a bit more refined with that, because then I can zoom in a bit further. But if I click on the marker, I can see highlighted which plant I'm clicking on. I can also show the markers here. If I click on the marker symbol.
That OpenStreetMap, I actually went through and edited all those roads, so I added the directions and everything. So.
Oh, have you done that? Yeah.
Yeah. That's all my edits. Added the roundabout and everything. So.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, that's a tip to anybody who has Iris. If you're on a budget, you can always go in and fix and, may I use the word, pimp up the OpenStreetMap version and use that. So yeah.
It's hard to add things like planting beds and things, but at least you can have your roads in the right place.
Well, you can do the beds as well. I mean, it's nothing wrong with that, but it requires a bit of tools.
Okay. I didn't find that part yet, but.
Yeah. Okay, so if I now click on this, I can, I can then get this accession up. There are 4 of them. I'll just open this one.
One's a voucher, but yeah.
Yeah, okay. So if I go back to the details, so the tabs are down here at the bottom. I'm just, for those who are wondering, I'm running a tablet here now, an 8-inch tablet. But you can also, of course, use.
I have it on my phone as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see.
So what's nice is the phone is always in my pocket. If I'm just out looking at something and I just need to pull it up, I can edit a record right in the field on my phone, and it's just the same as having a tablet or any other sorts of fancy equipment.
So here I can add change status, and then I can also map the plant. If I zoom in here now, and if I want to map this, I can just click on the edit in the corner there and move the marker around. I can click on this little triangle symbol to get all the plants in the area. And I can go one step further. I can also use this to triangulate, because I have a laser measure, so I can triangulate between these 2 plants here. So I can see, okay, this is where it is, the new plant. There we go. So, and obviously take pictures as well. So I won't spend more time on this. You can download this from the Play Store already to try out. That doesn't cost anything. And then you can also download Greg's wonderful data sets to play around with. Just go to Play Store at Google and search for IrisBG.
And when you install it, it will say explore other gardens, and you can pick my garden, and it'll download my data, and then you can download the map, which is fancier than that one.
Exactly. Yeah. Maybe I'll show that as a final thing here. If I now go back here, before I will go there, I can also go into the accession by clicking on the label on the top here to look at the comments about or whatever details about the accession itself. One thing that's great with these new machines is, of course, they have also text to speech to text, so you can. We were not sure what type of plant this was, but we'll have a look next time again. So you can write your own comments. This wasn't a very sensible comment, but I want to demonstrate the cleverness of these text to speech to text. Yep. So if I click OK here now, and then go back to the main screen, and it will ask if I save. I say yes to that. I can now go to the next plant, etc. But if I go all the way back, you will see that it has one change, which I cannot upload because I'm running Explore Other Gardens. If I go back to the beginning. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I just don't want random people from across the globe uploading changes to me. So.
Yeah. I'm going to download your dataset again, see if I can just quickly, while we finish off here, see if that goes fast enough so I can show them the proper map.
So while you're waiting, the viewer 3 person here that didn't put their name in says they would also like more of an overview of the tablet you're running. We bought 3 of them as well. It's a Samsung ruggedized tablet. It can withstand about a 6-foot drop. It has a Gorilla Glass screen, waterproof, or not proof, but resistant for a pretty serious dunk. It's a nice unit. It's, somewhat heavy, but if you're not, hiking the Appalachian Trail with it, it's okay.
Yep, here is the spec on that. It's called Galaxy Tab Active 2. Ruggedized, as Greg said, water resistant, and there's a lot of. This is designed for it's sort of like we call it institutional work. So it has a lot of other cool things, like you can buy docking stations for charging when you are finished at work and those kind of things. So it really makes sense as a. The barcode device that I wanted to mention is found here. I'm just going to bring that up. So let's see, it's coming here. Well, they want me to accept something cookies here.
And you said, I mean, I'll say Zebra because it sounds normal to me, but Zebra, it used to be a different company.
Oh yes, that. It was. This is just a name change, I think, from the Motorola. So Motorola split off a long time ago from the one company that creates these ruggedized barcode machines that you see used by couriers, etc. And that, when again, changed its name again to Zebra.
Or a Zebra, yeah.
Yeah. Why did I get TC25? Why? Okay. Anyway, we get to. I just want to see the actual phone itself. I hate these websites where they're so. Is it because I haven't accepted cookies? Keep on accepting cookies. I don't know.
Anywho, but if it's a Motorola, then it's I mean, a division of that, then it's likely a good unit.
Yeah. It's so what we've done so far. I'm just going to explain that quickly before we is to integrate the barcode scanner. So you basically click a dedicated button to scan barcodes. At the moment, when you use, if I go back to the app here, why doesn't so Zebra TC25? I'm just going to. That's the model that we've tested on. It looks a bit like this. I'm just going to go here now because the Zebra. So this is how this. It's a quite a small machine. It's also ruggedized, and it has, as you can see, a dedicated barcode scanner on the button to scan barcodes. It's not such a great sort of wow thing at the moment, but when we get integration with the tasks and inspection tasks in particular, it can be really handy in terms of dealing with things like recording propagation things and stuff like that in the nursery, where you have a bit of volume. So yeah, great. I think we have reached 4 o'clock in the United Kingdom, and I'm not sure what it is at your place, Greg.
It is 11 a.m.
Yeah. So we covered a few topics. We'll have this recording available online in a few days, and then it will be available on our YouTube channel. So keep track of that if you want to sort of get notified when there are new things there. And then, as I say, this will be announced more later this in September, this new product, Iris Handheld. Okay, thank you very much for joining.